What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about what I think are the preliminary guns you should be leveling for the new Warzone Pacific map, the Caldera map. I played the game for probably about 4 hours this morning, trying to get a feeling for, which guns were better than others, and I have some idea at this point. These are just preliminary thoughts. They're not going to be perfect, but I definitely have a few decent thoughts after getting destroyed by a few guns and then picking up those guns later and using them. I'm also just going to talk about my general thoughts about the map and my experience playing it. But yeah, if you guys appreciate the content, consider dropping a sub and like the video and comment on the video to help us out with the YouTube algorithm. Obviously, I'm recording this live right now on Twitch. I just got done playing the game. I stream all the time at twitch.tv/TrueGameDataLive. If you want to check me out there, I stream almost every day. I'll obviously be playing Warzone Pacific a bunch in the coming months. But yeah, let's jump into it, and we will talk about what I think are the best guns for preliminary leveling until we get a better idea of all the stats. So to start the video, I'm going to talk about some general things that I just have thoughts on after playing for 4 hours or whatever I just played. Basically, since it launched at 9 a.m., I've been playing until now, and it's 1:30. So the map is gorgeous. It's much more colorful, and there's no haze really compared to like Vanguard. Vanguard was kind of hazy and kind of gross looking overall. I am actually a little bit worried about the map though, because the way it was designed, there's all kinds of little rock outcroppings, and there's bushes and trees and stuff. There's just stuff everywhere, all over the place, and it can be a lot to try to. If someone's not moving, you're never gonna see them because there's so many objects around that if they're not right in front of you, if they're not moving, you're not going to see them. So this could be kind of a nightmare for rotations if people end up getting really campy and just kind of sitting in places. You're just going to get shot in the side and the back a ton on this map. And that's just because in Verdansk, it was much more flat. It wasn't nearly as hilly. There weren't as many little rocks. There were big rocks in Verdansk that you could hide behind and things like that. But there's just stuff everywhere. And that's good. I mean, it makes the map look really good and realistic and alive. But I think it could lead to some unfortunate gameplay things that could be pretty frustrating. One thing I do want to talk about real fast, it is pretty colorful, but I actually still like using the Deuteranopia colorblind setting. This basically just enhances the colors and just makes it look more colorful. I still don't use NVIDIA filters. I stopped using those as soon as Verdansk 1984 came out because I felt like the filters didn't do that much. But ever since then, I ran Deuteranopia just because it just enhanced the colors of Verdansk, and I actually think it still makes the new map look better. I think Caldera still looks better with this colorblind filter on. So before I get into talking about specific guns that I think might be pretty good to level, I want to say overall, none of the guns I felt seemed overpowered. In fact, most of them seemed not nearly as good as the Modern Warfare or Black Ops Cold War guns. So I don't think, unless they changed all those guns when they just released this, which is possible, we don't know yet. We'll know tomorrow. Because right now only Vanguard Royale is playable, which means that you can only use the Vanguard guns. So we'll find out tomorrow when they have regular BR mode. Hopefully there'll be private lobbies tomorrow as well, so I can get in and start testing. Right now those are not live yet. But yeah, the guns don't feel overpowered at all. In fact, they feel kind of bad. There's a couple that I want to highlight that felt pretty good to me, and some other ones that were okay, that might be worth leveling. And I don't think it'll stay this way. Like, I don't think... I think either they're going to nerf the Cold War and Modern Warfare guns, or they're going to buff these. I don't think they'll leave them feeling like this. And it could just also partially be that I'm not used to these guns and the recoil they have. But I don't actually think that's it, because they just don't feel great overall. I also want to touch on a couple questions I get asked all the time. First of which is accuracy. So accuracy is the ADS bloom stat that I made a video on. I discovered that in Vanguard. People have been wondering if that's going to be in Warzone as soon as these guns are integrated, and I can tell you 100% yes, it is. I expected it to be because they get 10 attachments, and that leads me into the other question I get asked all the time. Since the Vanguard guns have 10 attachments, are Modern Warfare guns and Cold War guns going to get 10 attachments? And I'm 99% sure the answer to that is no, because they don't have that accuracy stat. So they are perfectly accurate to the reticle. So I think the Vanguard guns have 10 attachment slots, but also an extra very, very negative stat that you have to correct for with those extra 5 attachment slots. So I think that's kind of was their idea behind balancing it. I think it's going to be really tricky to balance this many weapons. Like, it's going to be a bit of a mess, especially because each game had like different philosophies when developing the weapons and the attachments. I think it could be a pretty big mess. But yes, 100% accuracy still in here. I was was using the AS-44, the automaton, I could tell that the bullets weren't going exactly where I was aiming. But we'll see how that plays out once we actually get into this a little bit more. As far as movement goes, so things like, slide canceling, sprinting, looting, switching weapons, all of this feels almost the same. It's just like there's something a little bit off, and I'm not sure what it is, and it's just a little bit different, but it's very close. So for the most part, it's going to feel mostly the same to everyone. I have a million hours in this game, so I think that's probably why I can tell that it feels just a tiny bit different. I'm not even sure what it is that's different. It just doesn't feel exactly the same. Things like stuns, they say they nerfed them. They feel exactly the same to me. One thing I did notice for sure is you crawl slower when you're down, so that's kind of annoying. I don't know why they did that, but you definitely crawl slower when you're downed. So I did want to mention, obviously, I'm on a new account, so I didn't get banned for cheating, by the way. I'm sure some of you are going to think that, because some people think that all streamers cheat. But anyway, that's not why. I just wanted a stat reset. We used to get a stat reset once a year with every new COD title, and I've gotten a ton better at this game. So I wanted to start a new account. There was no stat reset with the new map. Obviously, my stats weren't very good to start with, 2.07 for the day, but these lobbies were insanely sweaty. I mean, if you look at these numbers, 158, 135, 161, 153, they were just insanely sweaty. The only game we won was the very first one that I played in, which had an average KD of 1, which was still not a bot lobby. I mean, bot lobbies in Verdansk were like 0.7, and this is for a bunch of reasons, but because the game just came out and only people who own Vanguard are playing right now, it's just full of streamers. It's full of good players that are really into the game, people that took off work for the new map to be released, things like that. So it makes sense that it's super sweaty right now. This will calm down, I'm sure, over the next few days. But these were some of the hardest lobbies I've ever played in, and it was rough. And that's kind of leading into my overall thoughts. I didn't have a ton of fun playing this morning, unfortunately. And that's mostly just because I think the lobbies were so sweaty. I think if these were normal lobbies, like my average lobbies in Verdansk are like, I don't know, 1.2 KD, which is just a normal lobby, and we got like hardly any of those. So that, on top of feeling like I couldn't see people that well, I didn't have a ton of fun, but I think lobbies are going to get easier. I think we're going to get all the old guns to play with soon, aka tomorrow. I think there's a lot of really good things coming, and I still have really high hopes for this, even though I didn't have a fantastic time playing this morning. I see the potential here, and I think that once more people get in the game and this SBMM calms down a little bit, I mean, playing in a 1.69 lobby is like, if you're not 4-stacked with your team, you're just gonna die instantly. So yeah, that was my initial thoughts on the game. I do think it's going to end up very good. I like the map. As long as visibility doesn't become a good problem, the map itself is very well designed, has lots of good, really interesting places to go, and tons and tons of uniqueness. So there's not a lot of repeated buildings and things like that. It's like all the areas are completely unique, which is really good. Okay, so now we're going to quickly go through my preliminary day one rankings of the weapons, and keep in mind, most of this was based off floor loot. I don't have any guns leveled in Vanguard, very much at least, and I was using a new account, so I literally didn't have any leveled. But I did pick up a lot of loadout guns that other people had built, and some of the people I played with dropped me some guns. First off, I'm not going to give rankings to the snipers. I didn't get enough playtime with the snipers to really give you anything on that. But what I can tell you is I used a fully kitted max bullet velocity Kar98, and it still felt like the bullet velocity was very slow. It was either that the bullet velocity was slow, or there's just more bullet drop in the new map. So we'll have to see. Obviously, I'm going to get all the numbers for all of this as soon as possible. But the snipers that I used did not feel good at all. Slow ADS times, bad bullet velocity. And another thing that some people will be really happy about, the flinch on the Kar98 was huge. Like the Kar98 from Vanguard has tons and tons of flinch compared to the Kar98 of the Swiss. It felt basically like the other sniper rifles, so virtually unusable if you're getting hit at all, which is a little harsh in my opinion. I do think the Swiss and the Kar98 from Modern Warfare and Cold War should have a little bit more flinch than they have, but the level of flinch that the Kar98 had that I used in Caldera was painful and basically made it unusable as an actual like sort of aggressive sniper. So hopefully we see that balanced a little bit, especially if the Swiss and the Kar from Modern Warfare and Cold War are the same as they are now and they don't change them with this new integration. Then no one's ever going to use one of these Vanguard snipers. In general, the recoil on the Vanguard guns in Caldera was very bad, so long-range guns, really, there were very few that stood out at all. So I've done these ranking systems here. It's just a basic, very, very preliminary ranking. These are do not like say, oh my gosh, True Game Data said this is the best gun. No, I don't know yet for sure. These are just my very preliminary thoughts on what the best guns felt like to me while I was playing. So the AS44 ranking out as from 0 to 10, where a 10 is basically like the meta EM2. A Growl, like a good Growl build, meta Growl build would probably be like a 7 out of 10, something like that. So that's kind of just to give you a scale of how these felt to me in terms of actual usage. AS44 felt pretty terrible. It has bad accuracy. Like I said, the ADS bloom is in this game, and it's very noticeable. In BR games, you have a lot more longer range engagements. So if your bullet's not going directly where your crosshair is and your target is really, really tiny, really far away, that makes a very big difference. So I use the automaton a lot, like loadout automatons, and I could feel it. I was missing shots because of the ADS bloom. So I think that's going to need to be tweaked a little bit. It could have been that the build I was using didn't have all the accuracy attachments. We'll see. But the AS44 has bad bloom and just didn't feel good in general. Automaton felt okay, so I gave it a 6, a little bit worse than the Growl. Still not very good. If there's a 1 in the column next to it, that means that I used the gun a lot today when I was playing. So I used the automaton a lot of loadout ones. Pretty much everybody seemed like they were using this. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be very good. It didn't feel that good to me. It felt okay, but not even close to like an EM2 or a C58 or an XM4. Just not even close to that good. The bar felt pretty good, felt pretty accurate. Hits really hard, just shoots really slow. The ITRA burst felt terrible. The one I picked up was literally unusable. Again, it was a floor loot gun, so take that for what you will. It was a floor loot gun, and it's a 4-round burst, and it had 12 bullets. So I didn't get a good picture of what an ITRA could actually do, but the one I used was literally awful, so I gave it a 3. The NZ41, this is the highest ranking assault rifle or LMG that I put on here. It felt actually pretty good. It was very accurate. And like I said, most of these guns were very inaccurate, very bad recoil. NZ41 felt pretty good. That's one of the ones that I'm going to go level after I make this video. It seemed like it was a pretty decent gun. I used it a lot. There's some floor loot ones that were pretty good, even with iron sights. SGG44, I gave a 7. I think a lot of people thought this gun was going to be very good as well. And it's okay. It doesn't feel nearly as accurate as the NZ41 to me, but it's okay. Again, I used it a lot because it seemed like everybody was running this. It's also floor loot. I used a fully kitted Volk as well, and that didn't feel very good. Again, I could really feel the ADS bloom, and it just didn't feel like it was hitting hard at all. So I didn't even think it was just really bad. The Bren and the DP27 both felt pretty good. The ones that I used, they were not amazing. Like I ranked them similar to the Growl, maybe a little bit worse than the Growl. But again, these are not fully kitted, so we'll see how that works out. MG42 was terrible. I picked one up. Again, it was floor loot. Picked one up. It was abysmal. Like it had like a 4x optic on it, and the recoil was insane. So you couldn't hit the side of a barn with the MG42 that I picked up. Type 11 I didn't use, so I can't talk about that. On to SMGs. So same ratings, 0 to 10. Basically like a meta OTS is a 10. Something like an MP7 is going to be like a 7 out of 10. The M1928, I didn't use this. I had one at the end, but I died before I got to use it. So I can't talk about that. MP40s are everywhere. They're floor loot, and everybody was running them because they thought they were going to be good. It feels pretty good. It doesn't feel amazing. It feels pretty good. I would say it doesn't actually feel as good as an MP7, so maybe 7 wasn't the right rank to give it. But again, I think with the right attachments, once we understand how the attachments are all going to work, it probably will end up being that good. I used it a ton, so that's why it has a 1 next to it. Owen gun, I didn't use very much, but it felt okay. The Sten, same story. I didn't use it very much, but it felt pretty good. Killed really fast, it seemed like. PPSH, this is the other one I want to highlight. Got a 9 out of 10. This thing felt really, really good. Most of these guns felt like, I mean, they kind of felt like World War II guns, to be honest, compared to Modern Warfare guns. They felt like they had more recoil. They felt like they were just really bouncy and just kind of clunky compared to what a modern weapon would feel like. PPSH, however, did not feel that way. It felt like I was picking up a gun that was in Modern Warfare and using it. And I fried some people with this. I got a fully kitted one with incendiary rounds and 71 round mag from somebody else that I had killed, and it felt great. I killed a lot of people with that gun. Definitely one of the best. Talked about the Sten already. The Type 100 I didn't use, so I can't talk about that. One thing I want to note, TTK is very, very important on SMGs, so these are super, super preliminary numbers. Once we understand the TTKs of these guns better, hopefully in the next, I don't know, week or so, once I actually am able to get all the data, it will become much more clear which SMGs are better. Movement and TTKs are really important up close. Even if there's a lot of recoil, you can still get away with using an SMG because you're so close to the person you're fighting that it doesn't matter that much. That's not true for ARs and LMGs, though. For ARs and LMGs, accuracy ends up pretty much being king. A combo of accuracy and TTKs as well. But That's why the NZ came out on top, is simply because most of these guns felt like they had really bad recoil, but the NZ41 really didn't. So if you're going to take anything away from this, I'm going to go level the NZ41. I'm going to go level the PPSH, because I think those are both going to be pretty good. I think all of this is going to get adjusted, and right now nothing touches the other guns if the other guns haven't been nerfed. So you don't have to go rush and level these guns to actually compete in regular, the regular Warzone mode that's coming out tomorrow. All right, everybody, that's all I wanted to cover. Just wanted to talk about my general thoughts about, Caldera, the new map, and what it felt like to play it, and give you guys some preliminary weapon rankings and things like that. Obviously, I've said this 100 times in this video. Take all of those with a grain of salt. Most of it was floor loot. I haven't played that much yet. I don't know the numbers. But overall, I felt like I got a pretty good feel for a lot of the guns. But obviously, time's going to tell as we get more into this. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. I don't know when it'll be out. Probably tomorrow sometime as I start to get into this more. Like I said, hopefully tomorrow private matches will be available and I can start, testing some stuff and getting some numbers out there for you. But we'll see. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.